So now we're able to communicate back, and we are actually updating our course goals array in the app component. But what you see is, despite the array being updated, and clearly the new goal is part of the array, our output here on the screen didn't change. And that leads us to a core concept of React: state. React does not re-render this JSX code and therefore the real UI all the time whenever some event is triggered anywhere in the app. So just because I click this button here does not mean that React will re-render the entire screen just to make sure it doesn't miss any data change. This is not how React works. Instead, in the end, you have to tell React when it should re-render. And you do so by using a concept called state. This course goals array here is a regular JavaScript array. Put in other words, React totally ignores it. We have to tell React that it should not ignore it, and that instead, whenever we change this array, it should update the UI, the JSX code, of the component in which we changed it. So in this case, of the app component. Now to do that, we import one other thing from the React package, and that's useState, a function built into the React library, a so-called React hook, and you'll learn more about hooks in my React the Complete Guide course, of course. A function which we can execute inside of functional components, and only inside of functional components. In class-based components, you also have a state management mechanism, not focus of this course here, but you could also do it there. But in functional components, you use these hook functions, as they are called, all these functions starting with use at the beginning, to manage state. So to manage data which, when changed, should lead to the UI of that component in which you manage the state to re-render. So here in the app component, I now want to call useState, and to useState, I pass this array here. This is my so-called initial state then. I can get rid of that constant for now. This tells React that this component has some state, and that this is my initial state. By the way, you can also have multiple different state pieces, and they're all watched independently. But here I only have one main state, and that is my array of goals. And I tell React that I have this state and that this is my initial state. Now, of course, I want to get access to that initial state, store it in some constant, so that I can use it in the rest of the component, because course goals is now missing everywhere. So useState also returns something. It returns an array of exactly 2 elements. The first element always is our latest state snapshot, so either our initial state or, once we changed it, the updated state. And the second element of that array returned by useState is a function that allows us to update that state, replace it with a new value, and tell React that it should re-render. So here I will use array destructuring by using square brackets on the left side of my equal sign here, to extract these 2 elements I have in the array returned by useState. And there are always exactly 2 elements. So it does not depend on which kind of state data you pass here. useState gives you an array with exactly 2 elements. First element, your current state. So in my case, my array here. Second element, a function to update the state. Therefore, typically we name this set, and then any name of your choice. Set course goals in my case. So now I have 2 constants created with the help of useState. First constant holds my state snapshot. Second constant actually holds a function which we can call to update that state snapshot. And we will call that function here in addNewGoal handler. We can call set course goals here. And now I want to update my course goals by adding a new goal. Now, a simple form of doing that is to simply then use my old course goals and call concat here. Not push, because push modifies the existing item. Instead, set course goals wants a brand new array, which will replace the old array. And concat will also add an item to an array, but it will return a new array to which this item was added. So it gives us a brand new array, doesn't touch the old one, and we then pass the brand new array to set course goals, and React will then use that brand new array to, under the hood, replace the old array in its internally managed state, and it will re-render this component once it did so, and therefore update this course goals constant with the new array in the next render cycle, which in the end means that React will execute this function here. And therefore, when it does so, it will reflect that new data in our JSX code. So here I want to concat my new goal. And if we now save this and I click add goal, you see new goals are added to the list. Because React now re-renders this screen or the parts that need to be re-rendered whenever we update our state. Now, how exactly React re-renders and so on is not the focus of this course. You can learn that in dedicated resources like the official docs or my complete guide. For now, it just suffices to know that React magically and efficiently does re-render the page or the parts of the page that need re-rendering based on the state changes we applied.